Welcome to Real Shame. It's a weekly podcast where we review movies from our movie blind spots. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
And in our last episode, we talked about Lego Batman, and that was a movie that Andy hasn't seen. So with Lego Batman, I decided to pair it up with another Batman movie, and that is
Batman Beyond.
Return of the Joker. Another Batman animated movie. So there's a couple reasons why I wanted to pair this up with it. One is, this is one of my top 2 Batman movies. And since I said in the last episode, my other friend Andrew introduced Lego Batman to me as the best Batman movie, I actually wanted to compare it to what I think is the best Batman movie. And that's Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
Gotham, Joker's back in town.
Can't be.
Oh no, your old eyes do not deceive you, Brucey. After all, who know me better than you?
Back off, gruesome.
The new boy. Ears are too long and I miss the cape, but not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
So my question to you, Andy, is have you seen it and what were your initial thoughts? Well, have you seen it? Did you watch Batman Beyond? And then what were your thoughts on it?
So way back in the day before Blu-rays, when they started putting out a lot more television shows on DVD, I think they put out Batman Beyond, all 3 seasons pretty close together. And I ended up picking up at least the first season. I started watching it. So I guess it originally aired, late 90s, early 2000s? Is that right?
Yes, I think so. I think it was right around the 2099.
I want to say this would have been around 2006, 7, something like that. I was like, oh, what is this Batman Beyond show? I think I'd heard of it. I don't think I was that much under a rock. I'd heard of it, but I'd never watched it when it originally aired. I bought the first season on DVD because I'll buy anything Batman. I mean, I love Batman. So I started watching the first season. I don't think I finished the first season. It wasn't because I disliked it. Yeah, well, it's not because I disliked it, but you know how life is.
Yeah.
You stop watching something, you get on to start watching something else, and you just never go back to it. And so I never went back to. I'm pretty sure I never finished the first season, but I was at least vaguely familiar with Terry McGinnis and the whole storyline that it's first of all, it takes place in the future.
Yep.
I don't know if they ever specify exactly when, but it's futuristic.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne is in his 80s or 90s in the show. Yeah, he's really old.
He's still looking pretty fit though for being that old.
I think the whole Dini, and I'm probably gonna get railed for this, and there's our producer's laughing again. But there's a whole YouTube series or channel dedicated to it called The Watchtower.
I'm sure.
And they've done a lot of extensive research. But from what I remember, I think he's like, from what I remember, he's in his 80s or 90s. And also they kind of want this to be timeless. So there's a mixed match, especially in the animated series, of modern and, retro things. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they actually give it an exact time period.
So Terry McGinnis somehow stumbles his way into the Batcave or something like that. And he takes up the mantle of Batman, and Bruce Wayne is kind of the man behind the scenes that helps him as he goes out and fights crime. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker came out in the middle of the series. Is that right? Or
I think so, in the middle of the series.
In the middle of the series, but it doesn't necessarily have a place in the chronology. Or you can actually view it independently, I felt like, of the series, because that's kind of what I did. I mean, again, aside from watching some of the first season, I'm not really that exposed to the other seasons of Batman Beyond, and I didn't feel like I was missing anything by watching this kind of standalone movie, right?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to at least watch the first couple episodes of Batman Beyond because it does establish how Terry McGinnis gets the costume and takes on the cowl and everything. But I agree with you. After that, it just kind of is a floating timeline and stuff.
Yeah.
I love the Batman the Animated Series. So we talked about last episode. That is my definition of Batman.
Batman, the animated series?
Animated series.
So not Batman Beyond.
Not Batman Beyond, but Batman the Animated Series I love. particularly I love it when he becomes Batman Beyond, or not Batman Beyond, Batman and Robin, when he gets the suit update and they do all the character designs. That black and gray suit is awesome. The sleek lines, and that is my ideal version of Batman. The Kevin Conroy voice, Mark Hamill's Joker. That is what I want to see in Batman. So when we talk about new Batman movies and stuff like that, and they give him like this huge armored suit, I don't like it, because in my mind, I want Batman to be agile, and he trained under ninjas and samurais, and he learned judo, and he can outmaneuver people. So he doesn't need to be this big bulletproof hunk of a mass that can just absorb hits. He should be fluid and flexible and be able to move out of the way. And like whenever they had the episode with Karai Ken, I think it's like Revenge of the Ninja, I think is the name of the episode, or the second one with him in, he has like his suit's made out of cloth. It's not armored, right? He has to put like a pad here. Spoiler alert for the TV series. He has to put a pad here so he doesn't die. So like, he rolls up and down the suit. Like, so
he doesn't have bat nipples.
He doesn't have bat nipples.
That's a shame.
But they do in Lego Batman.
Yes, they do.
For the kids.
They do.
So for me, love the Batman animated series. Love all the Dini universe. Bruce Timm, Paul Dini. Sorry about that. Love the whole universe. So love Batman the animated series. Superman series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond.
I'm so out of the loop when it comes to all this stuff. I mean, I know these series, but I've never watched them. So
and they're all kind of interconnected.
I'm pathetic.
The interesting thing, and the thing that makes me like this movie a lot, besides its plot, is that these animated shows never get their conclusions. But he finds a way to kind of get these conclusions shuffled into other things. So the Batman and Robin series never got its conclusion, but you do see its conclusion in the movie. Because you see what happens to Tim Drake Robin.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so with Batman Beyond, it doesn't get its end of the series there. It actually happens in Justice League Unlimited. You can see the end of it, which is really interesting because the way it's interesting in the way they kind of make Batman and the kind of light they shine on that character in that final episode. Like they kind of what's the thing? Retcon. I feel like they retcon a little bit, but the way they do it is it gives you a whole new perspective on Batman. It's crazy.
So do I need to just strike my existing list and just put all of the Batman animated and Justice League and everything? Because I feel so out of it when it comes to this.
I mean, like I said, for me, I really, really dig it. It's my ideal version of Batman is the Kevin Conroy Batman stuff. So that's why I hold this movie in such high regard. The other movie I think is before this, I was going to say Return of the Joker is my favorite Batman movie. But upon rewatch, I think I've kind of cooled on that a little bit. And I think maybe Mask of the Phantasm might be my favorite movie.
Which I have seen.
And the reason why I didn't have us watch it was because we watched it, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I feel like I need to watch the Batman animated series and rewatch Mask of the Phantasm, watch all of Batman Beyond, and rewatch Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. I enjoyed Batman Beyond Return of the Joker a lot. Yeah. I really dig it. It was darker than I thought it was going to be, particularly what the Joker does to Tim Drake.
That was going to be my question to you.
Yeah.
What versions did you watch? Because they had a PG and a PG-13 version.
No, I watched the one with it didn't have anything cut. Because I was reading kind of what they cut out, because I guess it came out just a little bit after the Columbine. Yeah. So they wanted to make some trims because it was too violent. I watched the one that didn't have the cuts. Yep. So yeah, I saw the gorier version, or whatever you want to call it. But I definitely dug it, and like I said, I liked, or not necessarily liked, but I was, whoa, like what are they doing here when they kind of turn Tim Drake into a little mini Joker? Yeah.
I mean, I think in this movie you see the Joker as a menace that you hardly ever see as villains for any of the Batman movies. Like, he is a true ruthless villain and nemesis to Batman. Yeah. Like like you were saying, the stuff he does to Tim Drake to warp him is crazy. It's crazy that that was put on film. That's crazy that it was animated. Like that is, I just to me that that one section that I think it's like 8 or 10 minute section, I just love because you see old Batman again. Because you have Barbara Gordon telling Terry McGinnis what happened, and you see old Batman again and like his his new kind of costume, the sleek costume, and you can just see him fighting crime and all that kind of stuff again, and just you just see like how you just see what kind of enemy the Joker is and what kind of nemesis he is, and I just think that's just great. And then it kind of tells you like why he's like so freaked out whenever he makes a comeback, and I think it's just again with Lego Batman we talked about. I just think it's really good storytelling. It just has that impact, that emotional like gut punch to it to me.
Yeah,
I think it serves really well.
I didn't know quite what to expect with it as far as I didn't know how kiddie it was going to be. So I think pretty early on in the film, he's meeting with the gang is called the Jokers, right? The gang of people that he has around him. And the one guy's complaining, saying he wants out or whatever. And he's like, oh, and he points the gun at him and it's just bang. And I thought, oh, so they're not going to kill anybody in this, right? It's not going to be. And then he kills it.
They kill people.
Like, whoa. Yeah, yes. It was a little shocking to me. But at the same time, I was like, okay, good. It's not going to be just this kind of kiddie fare. I mean, based on the limited exposure that I had to Batman Beyond the first season, I knew that it was darker than that, but I just wasn't sure how far they would take it, or if they were going to have the Joker actually murdering people, and he does.
He does,
just like the Joker should, right?
So, in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, they have Bruce Wayne who's taking back control of his company from I forgot the character's name, but that character design was made to mimic the way the Joker looks, as part of a red herring. Because you're supposed to, because he has the same kind of angled features that the Joker has. So when you're trying to figure out who the Joker is in the show or who it could be, you're supposed to kind of, I guess, subconsciously kind of clue in that this guy might be it because their character designs are so close.
I didn't notice that. I thought that guy was a little too obvious. I was like, it's probably not that guy, but I didn't realize that they did that. That's kind of cool.
And then we have Tim Drake, who has some Joker-controlled mind chip that changes his genetics, which is a little weird, but, we have a hyena man. And
yeah, you got to go with it.
I mean, with Batman, the animated series, you have, the episode with the, the human cats episode, I can't think of the name right now, it's left my brain. And
it's never been in my brain, so.
And then there's an episode, I think in season 1 of Batman Beyond, where they talk about splicing. And, that's where you get kind of the Jekyll man thing. So I guess it kind of makes sense in that kind of universe. But I think it's kind of interesting just of a closing thing to do with Tim Drake and make him evil.
So backing up a little bit, how were you exposed to Batman Beyond in the first place? How did you watch it when it originally aired?
So I was trying to think when you were talking about it where I was with it. And I think I watched some of it when it aired. But I think when it initially came out, I was like, whoa, this is not the Batman I want. I want the other Batman, because we've already talked about my affinity for it, right?
Sure.
So I think I was a little taken aback, and I really didn't give it a chance. But like you, when it came out on DVD, I think I ended up watching the bulk of it and catching it up that way.
Okay.
And then, I did, a couple years ago, I did a whole, like, Batman animated series, Superman animated series, all the animated movies, Justice League Unlimited. Like I did a big rewatch of all the Dini universe kind of stuff, just to because you like I said, you hear things like, oh, Batman Beyond, there's an episode in Justice League Unlimited that fills in the gaps in Batman Beyond. So I'm like, okay, well I want to watch this, but I don't want to just jump in, right?
Right.
So you kind of just watch everything and just see how they're interconnected and stuff.
I get that.
Batman the animated series, I remember like coming home from school and watching, while it aired, and with the Superman animated series and stuff. But with Batman Beyond, I think at that point I was just kind of like, this is not the Batman I want.
Yeah.
But upon rewatching, I enjoy the Terry McGinnis Batman, and like I said, that Justice League Unlimited episode recontextualizes a whole lot of that of Batman Beyond and why we do it, and it's very interesting. Kind of perspective shift on the series.
Well, and once again, I'm kind of showing my ignorance. I know Kevin Conroy. I know obviously who Mark Hamill is, and I know some of these names, and familiar with the fact that they've done voices in the animated space. I just feel way out of the loop when it comes to that stuff. But that's something again that I would like to remedy. Obviously, you know, we don't have. We're doing movies here. We're not doing television shows really. So I'll do that on my own time. But certainly,
not on my time.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, that's much more difficult to do. Obviously, it's like, oh, between now and the next episode, let's watch this entire season of whatever. I don't think that would work too well. But I will definitely try and catch up on some of that stuff in my spare time. Yeah. And it will probably creep its way into some future episodes or something like that.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
And I think like the other thing with this is, you know, Mark Hamill made his Joker performance more subdued for the new version of Joker, or the version of Joker in this movie. But I think the Mark Hamill Joker is awesome. Like, I think it's pitch perfect, drawn great. I think that is also my ideal Joker. So whenever we get a Joaquin Phoenix Joker, or we get a Heath Ledger Joker, or a the 30 Seconds to Mars Joker, Jared Leto Joker.
30 Seconds to Mars Joker.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. I compare him to what Mark Hamill brought to the role, because I think, you know, he has that kind of manic, menacing kind of portrayal of him. And I think, you know, that fits the version of Joker that I see. And I think it fits the Joker as a character.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of people that have seen the animated stuff tend to agree with you. I hear that all the time, that, okay, Jack Nicholson's great, or Heath Ledger was great, or whatever. But if you really want to talk about the best person that does the Joker, he may not do it live action, but voice wise is Mark Hamill. Now, does Mark Hamill do? And I don't know if you know the answer to this. Does he primarily just do the Joker in the animated world, or does he do some voices for other characters?
He does voices for other characters too. I think post Star Wars, he's kind of segued into doing more voice roles.
Right.
You know, he did some stuff on the Flash, and both live action Flash series. And
that's true. He's the trickster in the Flash. Yeah.
But he's voiced a bunch of roles. Just released recently in the news, which is going to date this podcast. He was announced that he's going to be Skeletor for Kevin Smith's He-Man series on Netflix. Oh, okay. So he's done a bunch of stuff in the voice acting world around the Joker, and he's lent his voice to the Arkham games and stuff like that, which I'm not the biggest fan of the Arkham games, even though they are written by Paul Dini, and they do borrow a lot of the voice cast from the animated series. But for me, it's the armored Batman stuff. It's hard for me to want to watch a Batman like that. And they skewer. I don't want to say they skewer, but they skew things a little bit differently. So it's really interesting. Like with the Arkham Knight, they kind of redo a Red Hood background and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in kind of seeing some of the other voice acting he does, or if you want to get something that's more kind of in this universe with his voice actors, those Batman Arkham games are a good.
I think I played one of those. I don't even know which one.
Probably Arkham Asylum. I think it's the first one. Yeah. And I played that one. And then the other ones I watched Let's Play on YouTube.
I think eventually didn't they kind of become like Grand Theft Auto, but with Batman? Like you were free to kind of roam the city and do little missions and whatnot. I mean, unlike Grand Theft Auto, I don't think Batman ever got in his Batmobile and ran over people while he was listening to songs on the radio.
No, that's Justice League or Batman versus Superman, where he blows people up and runs people over.
Yeah. Okay.
But the other interesting thing is too, like if we jump back into Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, is that, you know, Terry McGinnis is questioning Bruce Wayne if he actually killed the Joker. Like he thinks, like, you know, it's like
That's true,
whatever happened to him, right? You know, they keep on asking that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, they keep up with Batman not killing people, which is, you know, a construct from the comic books that the animated series carries, of him not killing people because, you know, his parents died a violent death, and why would he want to kill people when that turned him into the Batman?
Because he's fed up with the world. He's an angry old man.
But we're not here to talk about the Snyder universe.
No, we're not. We'll avoid that
but,
for now.
Yeah. But they had Tim Drake do it, so I thought that was an interesting way of showing how they got
Yeah.
dispatched and how far Tim Drake gone, and his mental state, and probably how that affected him afterwards.
Yeah.
With
He became a satellite installation guy.
he did,
Right.
he
That's-
did.
He's working in communications now.
So
He's got a real job.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. But
Put me on the spot.
what do you think of Batman: Mask of the Phantasm?
I
Better
l-
or worse than this?
Oh man, I liked Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Once again, I don't think I have any exposure to the Batman animated series, unfortunately. Whereas Batman Beyond, I had watched at least a little bit of it. I think I lean more towards Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, just because I think it's darker, and I like the dark Batman stuff. I feel like that's the way to go. Again, we talked about Lego Batman last episode, and obviously that's a lot more fun and lighter as it's intended to be, and I had fun with it, but I prefer the dark and brooding Batman, who's
100%.
all that stuff. So
Not the Snyder Batman, but I think this strikes the right tone of everything. And also in this one, like Lego Batman, we don't see Batman's parents die, so we don't need to see it every movie.
Nope. I think everybody knows what happens to them.
I think Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, and I hope we have a chance to kind of talk about this in a future episode. I think it's a great Batman Year One kind of story, and they borrow a lot from the comic books. But the shots where Batman's putting on his cowl for the first time, you see Alfred's reaction to it. I think speaks a lot for the movie and what it can do, and speaks a lot for the character. And also, the best part, and when we're talking about watching it, we watched it a couple of years ago. One of the reasons why I was telling you I was really pushing us to watch it was, Batman's at his parents' graves, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, he wants to give up. He wants to live a normal life, but he's compelled to. And that's something I don't feel like you've gotten from any other live action iteration of Batman, that conflict of whether or not he wants to continue doing this. What emotional toll is it taking on him and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very astute thing to put into your movie, and it gives it this depth, and it's something that you can kind of understand that the character's going through, and it's something I think just helps build the character more, in my opinion.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well, I think we've talked about Batman, and we could probably do a whole another episode just talking about Batman and the comics and different things like that. But we like to answer a viewer question every week, and this one
is on topic.
It is Batman related. So the question is, what is your favorite Batman, either movie or incarnation? It doesn't have to be a movie. It could be Adam West, Batman TV show. What is your favorite incarnation of Batman?
So I think I've already spoiled this for everyone, and I think you know the answer, but it's the animated series for me. Like I said, I saw that during my formative years. It was my first entry into Batman. I think I knew about Batman beforehand. I watched the 1966 Batman on reruns and stuff like that, but that was just at that point in time in my life that it was just my formative years. I think those 90 animated comic book movies, I want to say for everyone, but I can only speak for myself, have been my iconic version of all those characters. So the X-Men movie, the X-Men show from the 90s, especially the Spider-Man show from the 90s, and the Superman and the Batman from the 90s are just my ideal versions of characters. We talk about this, and I'm saying this because I want this to happen, and I don't care if anyone takes the idea, but no more Zod on Superman. We're done. No more Zod. I want to see a Brainiac Superman. I know Kevin Smith tried that, but I think a super interesting take on Superman would be Parasite and would be Metallo. Because I think the thing that Paul Dini did great with Superman, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I'll try to steer it back.
Go for it.
Was that he didn't make Superman like this immortal, unbeatable kind of guy. He talks about in the commentary that, he wants it to be where Superman is definitely like a Superman, but you think that there could be something strong enough, like maybe that missile was strong enough, it could injure Superman and could take him down. He's just not all powerful, right?
Yeah.
So I think that version of Superman, him not being a god, him kind of being a Superman but still mortal, is very interesting. And I think Parasite is interesting because he can zap Superman of his powers, and he can absorb his powers and fight Superman like Superman. So you have a Zod-like villain that can match him power to power, but it's not a Kryptonian, and we don't have to have that whole backstory. And then Metallo again, you have a android character that's powered by kryptonite, so you can use the kryptonite to kind of injure or weaken Superman while his android body takes on. Super cool. Wish I could see those in live action. I think they would play really well. But yes, the Batman animated series, my ideal version. Ra's al Ghul, favorite villain of all time. I love seeing the world's greatest detective and the smartest villain battle wits. I think that is super cool, and I want to see more of that. And I was super excited when I saw it on Batman Begins. And I will say this, and this is like hindsight 2020, and you guys might not believe me, but I totally called Liam Neeson being Ra's al Ghul. Because when I saw the trailer, I'm like, Ken Watanabe doesn't look like Ra's al Ghul. You know who looks like Ra's al Ghul? Liam Neeson looks a lot like Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
I think that's Ra's al Ghul. And also, back in college, before that movie came out, I was writing a Batman Alpha script that was Batman Year One fighting Ra's al Ghul. It's probably crap. Probably still is crap. But, I'm glad that me and the Nolans and Goyer were on the same page, and we got to see it happen. So, very excited about that. Long-winded. So
I just want to point out they did do Brainiac on the Krypton show, which got canceled after its second.
Well, they
season.
did on Supergirl.
Yeah. The TV show. I was thinking of the movie with Helen Slater. Yeah, the classic.
I think, and like I said, Kevin Smith tried to do it. I think a Brainiac would be a great, overarching story arc.
If it's done right. Yeah.
If it's done right, because I do think you need to have Superman. So for me, you need to have Superman wondering who he is, right? That's an interesting take on the character. He doesn't fit in. He's not exactly human. He's Kryptonian. How's he fit in, right? And I think him kind of rectifying or coming to grips with who he is interesting storytelling. And I think you can do that through a Brainiac kind of thing.
Yeah.
With it. So, all right, I spoke way too long. Let's let you talk. What is your idealized version of the Batman character?
So I read Batman comic books when I was a kid. I collected Batman. I read Detective Comics, Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, Batman Shadow of the Bat. Of course, now there's probably 50 million Batman titles that I'm unaware of. But as a child and growing up, I read those comics. I was super into Batman. I love Batman Year One. When the 60s Batman TV show, I didn't even like, I don't think, as a kid. I just thought it was silly as all get out. Because, again, having read the comic books, especially, and of course, and I think this is a lot of people's favorite artist that drew Batman is Neil Adams. I love the way he did it. But I love the darkness. I love the maturity kind of the Batman comic books. And the 60s TV show is obviously just camp. So that was out. When Tim Burton's Batman came out, I was super excited. I was so excited. I wasn't thrilled with the casting of Michael Keaton as Batman because, Batman's supposed to be kind of taller and much bigger and muscular. And then you've got tiny
Mr.
little
Mom.
Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom, which he had done some dramatic roles at that point, but I was not really sold. I remember going to see Batman, and I bent over backwards trying to convince myself that I liked the 1989 Batman. And then eventually I just had to come to the realization that one day that I did not care for that Batman. I don't really care for the Prince songs. I don't like the revisionist thing that the Joker killed Batman's parents.
But they've continued that with a lot of the stuff.
I'm not a fan of that because at that point, I believe Batman Year One, the comic book had already, it didn't follow the comics. I wasn't thrilled with that. I actually like Jack Nicholson as the Joker. He's a little over the top, but the movie's a little over the top. I mean, it's Tim Burton. I will say, out of Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin, the first Batman is actually my favorite out of all those. I feel like they got worse after that. But when Christopher Nolan...
That's something I need to revisit, because I don't know where I'd fall on that thing. Batman and Robin... Oh, what was the last... That was the last one, right?
Yeah.
That's the first movie I fell asleep in the theater.
Oh, it's so terrible. So when Christopher Nolan was coming out with his new Batman movies, I was excited. I was excited that Christian Bale had been cast as Batman. I felt like he fit the role. Plus, he bulked up a lot, obviously, for that movie. I was excited for that trilogy, or well, at the time, the first movie. I wasn't sure how many movies there were going to be, but I was really excited about that. And I remember going to see Batman Begins and just being blown away. I really, really loved it because finally I felt like they had done some justice to the Batman character on screen. I dug it. The Dark Knight I also like a lot. I don't want to shit on The Dark Knight Rises too much. I know a lot of people do because honestly, I've seen the first two multiple times.
Yeah.
I've only seen The Dark Knight Rises once. I didn't care for it then, but a lot of people tell me, oh well, it gets better, as time goes on. If you go back and rewatch it, I see from your face you don't agree with that, but I do feel like I need to kind of rewatch the entire trilogy at some point just to give them all a fair shake. But that's a long-winded way of me saying that I like the Batman Begins. I guess you could say I like the Nolan Batman the best.
Yeah.
But as far as the Nolan films, my favorite is not The Dark Knight. I actually like Batman Begins the most. I really, really, really dig it. I think Heath Ledger did a great job as the Joker. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal is terrible as Rachel in the second film. I thought Katie Holmes was better, and I know that's contrary to a lot of people's opinions. A lot of people think Katie Holmes was terrible, and Maggie Gyllenhaal is great. Maggie Gyllenhaal to me looks bored in The Dark Knight. She looks like she's just collecting a paycheck, and she's happy to get killed off in that movie as quickly as possible. But so long story short, the Nolan Batman is probably my favorite.
And for me, love Dark Knight. Don't like Dark Knight Rises. I actually don't like Batman Begins. I can't. We'd have to have a whole conversation about this.
Yeah.
But there's things it plays fast and loose with that I remember that it just didn't sit well with me. And
I mean, I don't know that we've seen a perfect representation or my perfect representation of Batman on screen, but I think that the Nolan Batman comes pretty darn close.
Yeah.
And who knows what Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson are going to do with this new Batman that's coming out? Maybe it'll be just phenomenal and it'll blow away every previous incarnation.
With that, Matt Reeves blew me away with his last two Planet of the Apes movies. I am fully on board with any kind of Batman movie he does. Yeah. And I'm with you. I'm hoping it's going to be the best one yet.
And I'm holding out hope for the Paul Bearer Part 2.
All right.
That was Matt Reeves.
Paul Bearer. Reeves.
Early Matt Reeves. No, I love the Paul Bearer. Yeah. Anyway.
No, you do. Unironically loves the Paul Bearer.
I love it, yes.
All right. So I was going to cough. With that, thank you so much for tuning into our episode. That was our review on Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, plus everything you want to know about Batman from us. We have a lot more. If you have Batman questions, send us an email, realshame@gmail.com.
Do it.
Follow us on Instagram @realshame. Subscribe to the podcast, like, review, stay tuned. And next time we're going to talk about a movie that I haven't seen, and that movie is
The Hustler. Paul Newman's The Hustler from 1961.
So
I have seen it.
I know it's about pool, and I know that Tom Cruise is right. Yeah,
he plays pool in the movie, but
and yes. Tom Cruise is in the second one.
Yes, the Scorsese follow-up, Color of Money.
So that's all I know.
Let's do it.
So we're going to learn about The Hustler, and we're going to learn how to hustle, and we're going to do the hustle. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.